Okay, so let's clean this up a little bit. One of the things we've got is this is ordered via number, but since they're bins, 1, 1, 1, 3, da da. Let's go and click on this, go to more sort options, and we'll go to manual. And so now we'll drag this around. So I'm just going to grab this guy here with the little movement icon pops up. I'm going to drag it all the way to the bottom, and it drags the entire row there. So let's just quickly fix these. So 130, 110, 90, and so those, I think that's right. Okay, so that fixes all of that. And let's change these because it's not really count of customers. We'll just call that count. So if I right click on it and go to go to field settings, we'll just type in count. That takes care of that. We'll come over and call this percentage. If we come up to analyze, we can also do it this way and go percentage, and there we go. So it's all changed. So it gives us the same kind of thing that using the countif function, although it does let us have this ability of using the pivot table to kind of take a look at data. So we can change the filter and show all of that. Okay, so the next thing, what we're going to do is I want to make a graph. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use one of our inbuilt graphs that we have in Excel. And so what I want to do is I'm going to graph the data right here, and we're just going to drop that right down here. And so we're going to make a column chart of these different bins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and go into insert. Now you can pre-highlight data. I typically don't do that just because I like telling Excel exactly what I want to do. So if we look into it, we've got pivot charts and we've got all these other little charts that we're going to do. So we're just going to come over here and we're going to pick a 2D column chart, and oops, I didn't mean to do that. And you can see it kind of looked at the data that was around that we're dealing with and went, I'm going to fill that in for you. So that's not exactly what I wanted, but that's fine. So we're going to go to select data. We're going to clean some of that up. And so it dropped the percentage data in, and I'd like to remove that. But of course, sorry, it put in a based off the pivot chart, which is not what I wanted. I want to go to insert, 2D column. There we go. Notice this is what I call a blank chart because there is nothing on there. Now we'll do a pivot chart on the next one here. So what I'm going to do is right click on it, select data, and you'll see it's completely and utterly blank. So I'm going to remove the blank series and I'm going to add a new one, and we are going to call that, we'll just call it count because that's what we're going to deal with. And so this series values, I'm just going to pick the values that we counted there. And I'm going to hit OK. And so now what it's done is it's kind of been this together for us, but it's just got these labels of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at the bottom, because all it's looking at, it's going, oh, okay, I know what these data is. This is the first part of the data, the second, whatnot. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit the horizontal category axis, and we're just going to pick these because this is along the horizon, and as long as we pick the same number of bins that we have here, it will stick the label at the bottom. And this trick is really useful, especially when you have a line graph and a lot of data. Let's say that you're plotting stock prices for the past like 3 years. You can sit there and you can use a line graph to quickly plot the stock price, and then you can come back and do this to put along this horizontal thing there. And said, okay. Now let's clean this up because it's a graph. We've got numbers, and without some kind of units, they're not very useful. So if we right click on things, it brings up a lot of the different options that we can have for everything. We come over here to hit plus. We can add different chart elements. We can also do that up here in design in the chart element tool right here, all these different chart elements. This gives us the quick list of most of the things. So what we're going to do is, no matter where we go, we're going to add axis titles because we always need axes and units for all of our graphs to make them pretty so people can understand. I accidentally grabbed that and dragged it, so I just want to double click on it, highlight it, and then we're going to call this frequency because that is the frequency that this happens. We'll come down here for the axis title, call this annual income. We will give it a title and count of shopper. We'll spell it right though, by annual income. And we can come in here and we can play with the series. So I clicked it, it automatically brought that up. And the gap width was way too big, so we want some nice fat bars. We don't want, we could take it all the way to 0, but we want a little separation. So let's see what 15% looks like. There we go. So that looks good. So now we have this chart, and it kind of shows us how things break down via frequency. And so we can see that if we look at what the question was asked, it wanted to know what was exact wording, what the annual income breakdown of the shoppers is, and so here it is. So if we take a look at it and we add all that up, we will find that, actually let's go down here. So if we added those up, we would find out that a majority of our shoppers, 71.6%, are making less than 70 grand a year. And so if you look at this, this is a skewed graph because the data kind of comes over here to the left, so it's skewed over in this way. And we'll talk about that, this kind of distribution in the coming chapters. Okay, so we've got this distribution. Why are graphs important, more important than numbers? And this is why visualization is important. I take a look at this. I can immediately look at this and go, hey, most of the stuff's over here. When they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, they are not incorrect. So now we're going to go and we're going to do, we are going to work with our part 3, which was the store revenue. And so now we're going to use a completely different function. So we are going to use what's called SUMIF. And so we're going to do a calculation based on what's going on. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is this is prompt, we need stores. So if I come over here, we can look at all the different cities that our stores are in. I turned off the filter there, so let's put filter back on. And so if I look at it, here are all the different stores that we have. So we need to put that list together. And you got a couple different ways you can do it. You can sort all this data and pick it out. But anyway, we're going to be typing that all out. And so what I did already is I have this list. So you can type that in. And actually, we'll go data, we'll sort it A to Z. Continue with the current selection. So it's just like, hey, there's other stuff over here. No, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to those are my stores. So I've got the stores in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do this function. We're going to do SUMIF. So what SUMIF does is it's like sum, it adds everything up, but it only adds up stuff that you do that has a, oops, I didn't mean to click out of it. It only adds up to stuff that you have, that passes a criteria. So in this case, what we want to do, since we want store revenue, we are going to sum up the revenue column. So we come over here and we look at revenue. And so we're looking at the range, the criteria, and the sum range. So we're going to sum up revenue. But the first thing we got to do is pick the range. And so the range is going to be where our location is, our cities. So we've got all of this stuff here. Now I did stop because we've been working with this data a lot. I know that it's going to end at 14,060. And once again, just a little bit of cheating so I don't have to drag that all down. And so now we need our criteria. And actually, I'm going to come back here and hit F4. And I'm going to do that on both of these. So the $ operator locks everything in, so it will not change. So I need my criteria. Well, my criteria is Acapulco. So what it's going to do is it's going to look through that I list, and it's going to find every place that it says Acapulco, and it's going to ignore everything else. And then what I want it to do is the sum range. So at that point, we're going to come over here. We want to do revenue. So we're going to select all of that. And once again, I'm going to just type in 14,060 and hit F4 on both sides of the range because we don't want either side to roll. And then I'm going to close the parentheses. And so now what that's done is that's given me all the revenue in Acapulco all added up. Now, what I want to do before I drag this is let's go home. We're going to change this to a currency layout. So it puts a $ and the commas in, which I do like. So now I'm just going to drag that down. We're going to go all the way. And so just like before, we'll go total. And we're going to sum all that up, just so we know what the overall thing is. Okay, so 182 million in sales. Okay, so once again, we could do this really quick. And actually, I'm going to highlight all of these and do a sort because it wanted to know what the top 3 were. And if I highlight both of them, I want to use this sort here with this because it allows me to pick categories. And if I don't have both of those highlighted, if I just tried to do the first column, it will disassociate our data, which we don't want. So we're going to go by store. Actually, we want to sort by revenue. I click data headers so it shows up there. And we want to go to cell values. And we want to go from largest to smallest. And that is not correct because this should be, well, let's go and look, what did I do wrong? Largest to smallest, cell values on revenue. Okay, I don't know why that didn't sort for me, but let's do it another way. I'm going to highlight all these guys. I'm going to use conditional formatting. And what I'm going to do is highlight cell rules. And I'm going to go to top 10 items. And so actually what I'm going to do is instead of 10, I'm going to say top 3. And I'm going to say use green fill. So I can look at that and that immediately tells me what my top 3 items are. Okay, so the other thing, let's quickly go and insert a pivot table. And so I want to go back here. And once again, actually, I don't want to start it here. I want to start here and go insert pivot table. That way it'll automatically select my data for me. Existing worksheet. I'm just going to drop it right here near our other stuff. And then hit OK. And so we're going to do kind of the same thing we did before, except we're going to drop city into the rows. And then I want the sum of the revenue. This will do it for me. Boom, sum of revenue. And then we can change it and display it just the same way. I just want to quickly change this. I'll go over here, value field settings, show values as, number format, and we're just going to go to currency, hit OK, hit OK, and there we go. So it's all formatted, gives us everything that we need, same information that we had there. And so the last little part, we'll be putting in a pivot table chart, and we'll do that in the final video.